In the smoldering, chaotic aftermath of relentless U.S. and Israeli airstrikes, the Iranian regime has just made its most desperate and defining move yet. The supreme leader is dead, vaporized in a targeted decapitation strike. But if you thought the Islamic Republic was crumbling, think again. They are doubling down. Early this Monday, Tehran broadcast a seismic revelation that completely shatters the foundational promises of their 1979 revolution. They are installing a new absolute dictator, and his last name is exactly the same as the old one, Khamenei. Enter Mojtaba Khamenei, the 56-year-old shadow operator who has spent his entire adult life orchestrating military and intelligence black ops from behind his father's throne. Now he is stepping into the blazing spotlight as the absolute religious and military commander of a nation locked in a brutal war. The stakes are almost unimaginable. Iran is actively launching swarms of ballistic missiles across the Middle East. Its economy is in a death spiral, and the blood of 7,000 slaughtered domestic protesters is barely dry on the streets. Will Mojtaba be the ruthless hardliner who escalates this conflict into an all-out regional catastrophe? Or is he the pragmatic, MBS-style reformer some insiders claim could actually strike a shock deal with Washington? The power vacuum has been filled, but the fuse is lit. Before we dissect the explosive backroom deals, the literal bombing of the clerics' voting hall, and exactly what President Trump had to say about this nightmare scenario, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Is the Khamenei dynasty about to collapse under American fire? Or is the worst yet to come? Let's dive in. Based on the latest reporting by Farnaz Fasihi, Iran has just dropped a geopolitical bombshell, answering the most dangerous question in the Middle East. Following the targeted assassination of their supreme leader, state media announced early Monday that the regime is keeping the absolute grip on power strictly in the family. Mojtaba Khamenei has been officially crowned as his father's successor. While American and Israeli munitions continue to crater the country, Tehran is signaling an ironclad commitment to hardline, theocratic continuity. But who exactly is the new ruler of Iran? Even within the borders of the Islamic Republic, the 56-year-old Mojtaba is a ghost. For decades, he operated exclusively in the dark, acting as the ultimate backroom enforcer. Operating out of his father's office, he was the chief architect coordinating sensitive military and intelligence black ops. More crucially, he is the undisputed favorite of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. Unlike his late father at the time of his own ascension, Mojtaba steps into the role already holding the supreme religious rank of Ayatollah, having built a quiet reputation teaching Shiite seminary. Beyond that, his personal politics and true temperament are a total black box. He is a man who almost never speaks in public. Today, that silent shadow is not only the supreme religious and political autocrat of Iran, but the absolute commander-in-chief of its heavily armed military. Vali Nasser, a premier voice on Shiite Islam out of Johns Hopkins University, calls the appointment startling but incredibly revealing. Selecting Mojtaba is the ultimate play for regime survival. It guarantees ideological continuity and places a man at the helm who is uniquely positioned to ruthlessly consolidate control. Yet, he had seemingly vanished from the political chessboard over the last 2 years. Why? Because according to 3 highly placed anonymous Iranian officials, the late Ayatollah explicitly did not want his son taking the throne. He feared the optics of turning the supreme leader title into a hereditary monarchy. Here is the glaring, undeniable irony. The entire foundation of the 1979 Islamic Revolution was built on obliterating inherited royal power and returning the nation to the people. But under the terrifying pressure of war, ideological purity goes out the window. The surviving clerics, the IRGC, and pragmatic political titans like National Security Council head Ali Larijani, a longtime ally of Mojtaba, instantly circled the wagons. They are relying heavily on the Revolutionary Guards, a faction initially designed merely as an ideological buffer against military coups. Today, the IRGC is an economic and military leviathan. They are the ones currently orchestrating the relentless barrage of drones and ballistic missiles raining down on Israel, Gulf nations, and American bases across the theater. The actual selection process for the new leader was a literal trial by fire. The Assembly of Experts, an 88-member clerical body, was forced to deliberate virtually. Why? Because on Tuesday, the Israeli Air Force leveled the very building in Qom where they traditionally hold their votes. Fars news agency confirmed the structure was empty, but the message was deafening. Amid the digital ashes, the clerics reasoned that crowning the son was the ultimate tribute to a father killed by Washington and Jerusalem. Tehran-based analyst Mehdi Ramadi points out the cold logic. Mojtaba's intimate mastery of the military security apparatus makes him the smartest wartime CEO available. However, Ramadi warns this nepotistic power grab is sitting on a domestic powder keg. The Iranian public is already profoundly fractured, and handing the keys to the sun will inevitably ignite furious, violent backlash against the ruling class. Look at the bloody ledger Mojtaba is inheriting. His father was a notorious absolutist who stonewalled nuclear negotiations and ruthlessly crushed dissent. Just this past January, he ordered a nationwide crackdown on anti-regime protests that slaughtered at least 7,000 citizens, a body count that rights groups expect to climb. And the current war has decimated Mojtaba's own family tree. According to the government, American and Israeli strikes haven't just killed his father, they've wiped out his mother, Mansoura Khojaste Bagherzadeh, his wife Zahra Adel, and one of his own sons. The assembly bypassed high-profile moderate finalists like Ali Reza Arafi, who sat on the Emergency Transition Council, and Saeed Hassan Khomeini, the grandson of the 1979 founder. Yet some political insiders hold a paradoxical theory. Mojtaba might actually be the reformer the West has been waiting for. Abdurreza Daveri, a politician within Mojtaba's orbit, suggests the new leader could mirror Saudi Arabia's Mohammed bin Salman. His unassailable conservative pedigree might give him the ultimate political armor to force structural liberalization and actually negotiate a de-escalation with the United States without being eaten alive by hardliners. How does the Oval Office see it? Unsurprisingly, with blunt skepticism. Holding court in Washington on Tuesday, President Trump boasted about the sheer volume of regime elites his administration has recently eliminated, joking that soon they won't recognize any names on the Iranian roster. When pressed on his worst-case scenario for the succession, the president didn't blink. I guess the worst case would be we do this and somebody takes over who's as bad as the previous person, right? That could happen. We don't want that to happen. The coronation of Mojtaba Khamenei is not just a standard political succession. It is a profound geopolitical gamble with the stability of the entire Middle East hanging in the balance. By completely betraying the anti-monarchist roots of the 1979 revolution to establish a de facto royal bloodline, the surviving clerics and the IRGC have chosen raw, immediate military survival over ideological purity. But this desperate consolidation of power is built on a massive fault line. Inside Iran, a deeply polarized public, still reeling from the January massacre of over 7,000 citizens, is now staring down the barrel of a nepotistic dictatorship. The potential for a massive, bloody domestic uprising is higher than it has been in decades. Strategically, we are looking at two wildly divergent futures. In one timeline, Mojtaba embraces the absolute worst of his father's legacy, leveraging his deep ties to the Revolutionary Guards to launch a devastating, open-ended war of attrition against U.S. and Israeli forces. In another, highly paradoxical scenario, his unassailable conservative pedigree gives him the exact political cover needed to act like an Iranian Mohammed bin Salman, forcing through structural reforms and quietly negotiating a strategic de-escalation with the Trump administration to save his regime from total annihilation. Washington is watching like a hawk, with President Trump bluntly acknowledging the nightmare reality that the new boss might be just as dangerous as the old one. The board is set, the American bombers are still circling, and the shadowy puppet master is now the absolute king. The next move he makes will either pull the region back from the brink or ignite an uncontrollable inferno. What do you think Mojtaba's first major move will be? Will he escalate the war or shock the world with a peace deal? Let me know your predictions in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay on top of this rapidly breaking global crisis.